Jason, number 5 for you.
I had Luka. And I know that's
Okay.
crazy, but like when you're really digging into it from the standpoint of comparing him to the guys that I have above him on this list. For instance, I have one guy above Luka on this list that I think has defensive limitations, and that's Nikola Jokic. But Nikola Jokic's on-off numbers are so outrageous that like you can't possibly be like, oh, well, he's screwing them over on defense, because it's like, no, like they're winning all of his shifts almost every single night. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with Luka as a differentiator from the other guys in this list, I'm defensively, I can't necessarily put him into that conversation. And for the record, I want to be clear. Team success factors in here. I'm not the whole give the MVP to the 6th seed guy. I've never been that guy. And I actually think the Mavericks are up to 4th now. But to be clear, like, I do not blame Luka for the mediocrity of the Mavs. I think it's 100% roster related. I think as mad as people might want to get at him about being heliocentric, it's a product of that being actually the best way for this roster to play. I genuinely believe that if they somehow managed to bring in a star tomorrow, that he would get into the lab with that guy and figure out a way to play productive basketball with him, and that he would change his style to accommodate him. Like, I am 100% a pro Luka guy. I just don't think he can be any higher than 5 on anybody's list. I'm guessing you have him higher, so let's hear it.
I have him at 3, and here's the reason why. I think that, like, look, you and I, we talked a little bit about this before we started. Luka's defense has not been very good this year. Like, they tried to hide him, for instance, in their most recent game on Jeremy Sohan, who has been coming on lately. Like, he's averaging 15 over his last 6 games. He's had some moments that have been pretty positive, but throughout his first 30 games, I think he was averaging like 7 points and shooting like 47, 17, 45 from the field, like just like abhorrently bad efficiency numbers. Jeremy Sohan caught Luka for 20, basically like back cutting him 4 times, knocking down a couple of threes, getting to the line by back cutting him another time. Like it was just, Luka's defense is pretty real in terms of how you have to work around it. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason that I have him at number 3 is I think this Dallas team might be the worst team in the league if you take Luka off of it.
Ooh, and interesting.
I think they're really bad around him. Like, I think they would have no chance to create any sort of offense. Number 2, currently leading the NBA in scoring, 62.2 true shooting percentage, which is about 5 points higher than the league average. That is, when you're looking on the margins of the guy that I have at number 4, which we'll talk about in a minute, that's actually like a somewhat substantial difference in terms of efficiency when we're talking about the best players in the world. The fact that he is capable of living in that world in terms of efficiency is just very, very important to me. On top of it, he's like the second best, third best passer in the world, creates plays for his teammates constantly. Like, again, that offense would not run without Luka. And I think that, like, his scoring might be his second best skill behind his passing, and he's currently leading the NBA in scoring, right? Like that's the kind of player that you're talking about with Luka. I think that his value to the team supersedes anyone else's in the NBA, just kind of straight up. I do. Like, if you took Nikola Jokic off of Denver, I think they probably win like 37 games. 38 games, something like
after
that.
After changing their style completely, yes.
Yeah, after changing their style, like they, run Jamal Murray, out of a ton of ball screens. They'd involve Michael Porter Jr. as a creator more. Aaron Gordon would probably get more offensive attempts. Like they probably win 40 games, something like that. The Milwaukee Bucks, like with Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, although Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton have been injured quite a bit this year, they would not be nearly as good. But I think that they could manage at the very least. Same with, we'll talk about the guy that I have at the top, actually. I think that if we took that guy off the team, there would be some real problems. But same with Joel Embiid. Like, I think the 76ers occasionally can survive without Joel Embiid because they have Tyrese Maxey, they have James Harden, they have everyone else, Tobias Harris, etc. I do not think the Dallas Mavericks can survive a 7-game absence from Luka Doncic. Without him, that team, who creates offense for them without him on the court? No, like, Spencer Dinwiddie is not having a good year. I know what the numbers say. Like, you watch Dallas games, like teams don't really care what he's doing out
They're
there.
using
frankly.
him as a spot up player more than they did last year because of how much he's struggling with his on ball reps. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, it's right. So
I 100% agree with you. I do that. In terms of the limitations and the value. I just think that I am one of those guys that struggles with giving the MVP to lower seed. So that's why I had him lower.
I get it.
But I will say this, I'm super excited to see like 5 years from now when Luka's on a real team, when he can cut back his usage just a tiny bit and can be a little bit more picky, just how dominant he's going to be. I'm just so excited that we have like a solid decade and a half of Luka in front of us. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be so good.